Up here is this happy-looking gentleman. So as you can see, he has a compass and a few other things. His name is Antoni van Leeuwenhoek, and he was a Dutch researcher around the time of Henry Oldenburg, and he's considered by many as the father of microbiology. He discovered a mechanism of increasing the power of microscopes, so that, and he discovered bacteria. He published 0 papers. He wrote no books. All of the way that he shared his research was through correspondence by letter. He wrote over 560 letters to Henry Oldenburg. So for the last 350 years or so, we've relied on journals for the dissemination of scientific news. Yet, before this time, most of correspondence was based on these letters. And that's something that, that these journals are very one-sided. We publish them, but it's only later that we get feedback. So Antoni van Leeuwenhoek was widely regarded as an amateur. He never really felt confident enough to publish papers, and he did his research for the love of it. He was curious, and he came up with a way to satisfy his curiosity. And I think this hits the core of what I think research should be. So much so now, research has been commercialized, and it's and the journal publication industries have kind of promoted this idea of publish or perish. It kind of takes some of the fun out of research. I can tell some people agree with me. So, if we look back at how the philosophical transactions came about, it was all motivated by economics. It was cheaper to scale and disseminate the scientific news by using a printing press rather than hiring an army of copyists to copy these and mail them all out. So in early 1665, Henry Oldenburg obtained a copy of the Journal des Sçavans, and it spurred his business idea. He had the idea to create a journal devoted entirely to natural philosophy, and that he would be more easily able to promote new ideas, broaden the reach of the Royal Society, and perhaps even make a little bit of money on the side. His plan worked out, except for the money part, though he made just enough to pay his rent. While journals have been very successful at disseminating news, they've also promoted the attitude of fierce competition and the social consequence of publish or perish. And the printing process has entrenched the subtle yet devastating ideas that research must be finished before it is shared, and that peer review is a one-time ordeal. So this has led to an environment of centralization where papers are funneled through the publisher. Eventually, the economics of the machine have won. More efficient was it to disseminate scientific news to a broad audience using a printing press than it was to keep up a one-to-one direct style of interaction. And publishers became the de facto gatekeepers of knowledge and the orchestrators of peer review. Where has this led us? A funding model that is tied to the publishing process, to which researchers are slaves. It's hard to get out of that unless you decide just to not get money. There's publishing overhead. It takes time to get publications out. And researchers have become silos themselves to protect their own interests so that they can be the first ones to publish. So what what can we learn from these early days of scientific correspondence, going back before the journal? Andrea Rusnak said, while publication and the distribution of the philosophical transactions certainly contributed to the diffusion of knowledge, it did not provide for the flexibility, openness, maneuverability, and relative rapidity of interaction that correspondence did. In short, the Society's correspondence encouraged a more participatory science. So what we're trying to do is to be able to bring back some of these ideas, the motives that people had during the Enlightenment period, to collaborate eagerly, to be open, and they did it just because they loved it. So we envisioned a future with research being based upon open web standards and collaboration platforms. There is a website that we'll have up in the next few days where we're trying to involve whoever wants to help in this way. So, and we call this research cases, and research cases is a vision for a new kind of research that is more similar in spirit to the correspondence highlighted. So thank you.
Okay, are there questions? All right, with that.